Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to untangle the wild extraterrestrial myths of Area 51 from its equally thrilling, declassified history of Cold War aviation. We all know the name, right? It instantly conjures up images of flying saucers, little green men, and shadowy government cover-ups. But today, we're going to look strictly at the data, the declassified files, and the historical records to separate fact from fiction. So let's just dive right in. Is this remote Nevada facility actually a hub for captured alien tech? Or is it simply the ultimate testing ground for top-secret military engineering? To really answer that, we have to look at how the legend was born, what extreme measures were taken to protect it, and the groundbreaking but very terrestrial aircraft that were actually built there.
Section 1. The Area 51 Myth. Pop Culture and Extraterrestrial Lore.
You know, to really understand the reality here, we first got to peel back the layers of rumor. And it all starts way back with the Roswell incident in 1947. Now, funnily enough, this actually happened years before the Nevada base even opened. Yet the two are forever linked in our collective consciousness as the ultimate origin of government alien cover-ups. Then we jump to 1989, when a guy named Bob Lazar went on television claiming he worked on reverse engineering alien spacecraft at a site right near Area 51 called S4. And well, that snowballs all the way to a viral internet joke in 2019.
And speaking of that internet joke, 2 million. That is the actual number of people who RSVP'd to that 2019 Facebook event, hoping to storm the gates and, quote, see them aliens. Now, obviously, only a few thousand people actually showed up to desert festivals, and even fewer went anywhere near the actual gates, but it just shows the sheer, undeniable scale of the Area 51 myth in modern culture. It's huge.
Moving on to Section 2. Secrets and extreme security, keeping prying eyes away from Groom Lake.
Now, what actually allowed these wild myths to flourish in the first place was the government's desperate, intense need to keep this specific patch of desert entirely hidden. Think about it. If you operate in total silence, the public will eventually fill that silence with their own stories, right? So, the government built a literal fortress of silence. We are talking unmarked orange boundary posts out in the middle of nowhere, anonymous security guards that enthusiasts affectionately call camo dudes, patrolling in white trucks, and literally burying motion sensors out on public land. Oh, and of course, those famous warning signs specifically authorizing deadly force against trespassers. They weren't messing around.
Just look at the absolute panic that went down inside the intelligence community when Skylab astronauts accidentally photographed the base from space back in 1974. A declassified memo from CIA Director William Colby reveals that the CIA considered absolutely no other spot on Earth to be as sensitive as Groom Lake. There was a fierce internal debate over whether they could legally, retroactively classify a photograph taken by a civilian space mission just to keep this facility hidden from the world.
Section 3. The Cold War Origins. The Birth of Paradise Ranch.
So let's peel back that secrecy to find the real origin story. And, spoiler alert, it wasn't aliens. Back in 1955, the CIA and Lockheed desperately needed a perfectly smooth, dry lakebed to secretly test the U-2 spy plane, which was vital for keeping tabs on the Soviet Union. But how do you get top-tier engineers to move out to a barren salt flat? Well, legendary aircraft designer Kelly Johnson lured workers out to the harsh desert by giving the base a highly ironic, inviting nickname, Paradise Ranch. They saw Groom Lake from the air, realized it was smooth as a billiard table, and literally within months, they had a runway, a few hangars, and a dedicated team living in trailers in the middle of absolutely nowhere.
Section 4. Reverse engineering Soviet MiGs, secret dogfights in the desert.
But it wasn't just about developing our own spy planes. The military actually used the base to covertly evaluate acquired Soviet hardware. Under a classified program called Have Donut, the U.S. military managed to get their hands on a Soviet MiG-21, all thanks to an Iraqi defector to Israel. When they tested it head-to-head against the American F-4, initial evaluation showed the planes were virtually a draw. It all came down to the skill of the pilot flying in the vertical that ultimately dictated victory.
And you know, these secret tests had a massive real-world impact. The Navy took the data gathered at Area 51 and completely revolutionized their combat training, establishing the now famous Top Gun School. As a direct result, their kill ratio in Vietnam skyrocketed to an incredible 8.33 to 1. The Air Force, on the other hand, they didn't immediately modernize their training based on this data, and their ratio sat at a much lower 2.83 to 1. So this wasn't science fiction happening out there, this was raw tactical advantage being born right in the desert.
Section 5. Developing Stealth Technology.
Becoming invisible to radar.
As the Cold War evolved, Area 51 shifted gears into developing revolutionary stealth technology, evolving from jagged prototypes to absolute icons of aviation. First, the Have Blue project gave us a smaller, proof-of-concept stealth prototype. That directly fed into Step 2, the F-117 Nighthawk, which became the first operational stealth fighter. And finally, Tacit Blue, a bizarrely curved, fly-by-wire aircraft that the team endearingly nicknamed the Whale. That one actually heavily influenced the B-2 stealth bomber.
The sheer desperation to hide these strange, radar-evading shapes meant airplanes were literally being disassembled and flown in piece by piece under the absolute cover of darkness. Early F-170s were completely defueled, loaded into the belly of massive C-5 cargo planes at night, flown out to the desert and unloaded before the sun ever even came up. That is exactly how far the government went to keep these experimental profiles away from Soviet satellites and civilian eyes.
Section 6. How reality created fiction. The ultimate aha moment.
All right, so we've peeled the onion completely to reach our final twist. The top secret reality of Area 51's aviation breakthroughs literally caused the alien sightings. Through Project Blue Book, the Air Force was actively tracking civilian UFO reports, taking letters and calls from the public. But internally, they knew the truth. They secretly cross-referenced these civilian sightings with the classified flight logs from Area 51. The military realized pretty quickly that these supposed alien craft were just their own top-secret spy planes flying at previously unimaginable altitudes of 60,000 feet and beyond.
A veteran of the A-12 AOX CART program actually summed this up perfectly. Imagine you're a commercial airline pilot cruising at dusk. Suddenly, you see the incredibly wide, shiny titanium belly of the A-12 blazing by at over 2,000 miles per hour, catching the setting sun. The shape was completely unprecedented. When a civilian pilot sees a glowing, disc-like flash moving like a bullet above them, naturally they're going to assume it's otherworldly.
So the grand irony here is that the military inadvertently spawned the alien myths, but then they fully embraced them. Why? Because a pop culture conspiracy was literally the perfect camouflage for national security. Think about it. If civilians and Soviet spies are busy looking for little green men out in the desert, they aren't looking for the A-12 Ox Cart or the F-117 stealth fighter or captured Soviet MiGs. The myth protected the reality.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer today. We've traced exactly how human engineering created a modern mythology. But it leaves us with one final, pretty thrilling question. If the unbelievable secrets of the 1960s and 70s sparked decades of extraterrestrial lore, what hidden technologies might be flying over that dry lake bed tonight? Keep your eyes on the skies.